Have you had your sip today? I'm not talking about your coffee. I'm not even talking about your tea. Have you had your sip today? Taking a moment for sweet inspiration of prayer. Taking that quiet moment where you exhale yesterday's noise and inhale today's truth. What's going to be your truth today? See, every day begins by your decision. We have a choice to participate or inhale the chaos that surrounds us, or breathe in the calmness from your energy, from the process of divineness. Have you had your sip today? See, every day, that quiet moment that we take, whether it's in the mornings, the middle of the day, it's the way we start our day that determines the flavor of the aroma of our emotions. It determines our mindset. It determines the type of relationships that we are going to experience throughout the day. Today, I want to invite you to take a sip with me. Slow down and meet yourself again in stillness and quietness. My form of counseling, my platform, is spirit, mind, and body. I want you to understand the meaning of SIP within that platform of spirit, mind, and body. SIP is more than just a prayer. Okay. And it's a spiritual reset button for you to take the time and appreciate silence. When I say, have you had your sip today, I'm really asking, when is the last time that you have felt anchored? Your soul actually anchored before the storm begins. The practice of having a sip every day actually is anchoring you in life, anchoring you for as the challenges that will come sometimes out of nowhere. You ever heard people say, I was blindsided? Yeah, because that's just life. Sweet inspiration of prayer. You'll find in my book lots of different chapters. You know, it's not about fancy words. It's about making a connection with God, to peace, to purpose. For women, that might mean taking off that superhero cape for the moment. And remember that your worth isn't tied to your job title. It might mean for the man, stop in a moment and not have to worry about performing that macho presentation. It's taking out a time to think about your role today, not only within yourself, but in the lives that's going to come into your path. When we think about SIP, Sweet Inspirational Prayer, being able to look at changing definitions as we facing challenges. It's words that creates a sense of stillness that brings about quietness. It brings about settling all those racing thoughts. It puts a halt on the excessive worrying. When you begin to practice sweet inspirational moments through the prayers, you actually begin to activate your own self-esteem because it begins to build boundaries. I call them sacred boundaries, where you protect your peace, where you immediately have a discernment of your spirit, that alarm, that signal, I call it a spiritual signal, that goes off when you may be in danger. I'm talking about the endangerment of being bombarded by someone else or other people's negative energy that does not belong in your spirit, energy that is connected to someone else's less faith, less belief, struggling with identity issues, struggling with a self-validation issue. That internal spiritual alarm when you're on your journey, when in those inspirational moments during your silence, when you're enjoying taking that sip, you are building a foundation, a protection, a sacred embodiment. I would say almost like a globe, the beautiful light, beautiful, I would say a spiritual enlightenment that breathes safety from the areas of other people's stuff that sometimes you find yourself taking on. It's not even yours. Doesn't even belong to you. And what happens when we do not take a sip daily to put on our spiritual garment to help us to function in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the loudest noise? We anchored in the silence. It protects us. You begin to hear your own voice, being able to say no with a smile, not with guilt. You manage to shed that guilt. Sweet inspirational prayer helps you to shed guilt. Put guilt in its own place, okay? Because it's a normal emotion. Sweet inspirational prayers helps us to shed other people's shame that maybe has been inflicted through another generation, being the victim of quietness. Someone else's quietness. And understand there's a difference between someone else's quietness and secrets than your own spiritual moments of silence that you gain from sweet inspiration of prayer. The book that I have published, the title of it is SIP, Sweet Inspiration of Prayer. Breaking the transitional, generational cycle of trauma debris. Yeah. Sometimes we're not even aware. So I think it's really important that you purchase this book. And as you read chapter by chapter, you're going to journal. What does these words mean to me? Because through my own life, my own journey, I've learned that certain words, as you heal, begin to take on a new definition. Your tears will begin to move from an internal sanitation system of release, releasing tears that's connected to someone else's trauma. It will take on your own tears of celebration today. Yes. Recognizing that in the moment of being able to sit still with yourself in silence that empowers you. Words will change from control to love, from pain to healing. And it takes on a different look, a different feel, a feeling of breaking out, a celebration to feel that freedom in the midst of everyone else's chaos, listen to everyone else's pain. Your freedom will give you that entitlement to still continue to say no with a smile. Give no away as a gift to allow someone else to discover their own individuality, their own intellectual that's connected to their cognitive, their brain. Be the creator to help someone to discover they have a brain. They can think. They can do the same what you're doing for them. Wow. Sweet inspiration of prayer gives you that internal energy to feel so great that you become a leader. You become the activator and the motivator of someone else that has formed a dependency on your brain. Give them the gift of life and allow them to discover or rediscover their own I.